Broke man marries rich woman for a bet, then discovers this insane secret on their wedding night. The wedding bells chimed, echoing across the lavish estate of the rich and powerful. A spectacle, really. Flowers glimmered under the bright sun, their vibrant colors almost too bright, making everything around feel more fake, more staged. And there he was, Jake, an ordinary guy with a laugh that's more charming than his faded jeans, just hours away from a life that seemed like a dream. But it was all a gamble, a bet that spun wildly out of control when he said I do to Sabrina, the dazzling heiress with a smile that could light up the darkest room. Something felt off. Eyes watching him, whispers floating like a storm cloud. Did they suspect? Every movement Jake made felt like the wrong one. The crystal glasses clinked, but the sound was drowned out by the pounding of his heart. As they exchanged vows, he couldn't shake the feeling that Sabrina was hiding something, a secret buried deep within that charming facade, and then came the moment. Later that night, as they entered their honeymoon suite, the opulence of silk sheets and golden furnishings contrasting sharply with Jake's usual modest life, a cold draft swept through, chilling him to his core. The lights flickered. Maybe it was just the power, but the way they faded then blazed back to life sent a shiver down his spine. Was this a sign? Desperation clawed at his insides. What if she wasn't who she claimed to be? Sabrina, glowing in her bridal gown, seemed almost ethereal. Yet, the sparkle in her eye was mesmerizing and unnerving. Suddenly, with one swift motion, she pulled a small, ancient-looking book from beneath the bed. What was this? A gasp escaped his lips. He took a step back, faltering. What's that? His voice trembled, uncertainty brewing in his stomach like a fierce storm. Then she looked at him with an intensity that could burn a hole through steel. You won't believe what you're about to discover. That was when his chest tightened, a lump formed in his throat. It was a challenge, the sort of challenge that could shatter everything he thought he knew about her, about them. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jake held his breath as he stepped toward her, curiosity mingling with dread. What's in there? He whispered, half expecting her to close the book and laugh it off. But the look on her face said otherwise. Something was coming, something dark. The air grew thick with tension, each heartbeat echoing in their silence. Suddenly, a chilling laugh emerged from within the pages of the book. You are about to enter a world far beyond your broken dreams, Jake. Are you ready for this? Her voice was cool, almost mocking. And just like that, hope flickered and extinguished, replaced by a palpable fear that clutched at his spine. What had he gotten himself into? Would he ever emerge from this nightmare unscathed? As the candles flickered ominously, casting long shadows on the wall, Jake knew he'd crossed a line he could never uncross. What secrets lay within those pages? Would he even want to know? Jake's mind raced, his pulse thrumming in harmony with the haunting words bouncing around the cavernous room. The book, what did it mean? He glanced at Sabrina, feeling the chills settle like frost on his skin. Was she laughing at him? Or was she as frightened as he was? Sabrina, he started, but the words caught in his throat. The surreal atmosphere closed in, dark clouds swirling in his thoughts. He could almost hear the whispers from the wedding, the judgment in their eyes. But now, those voices faded into a whisper beneath the laughter echoing within the pages of the ancient book. Open it, she commanded, her voice low, almost a purr that sent a cascade of unease trickling down his spine. Tentatively, he reached out, fingers brushing over the worn cover. The leather was soft, familiar, yet unsettling. As he hesitated, every instinct screamed at him to stop, to turn back, to flee. This was no ordinary wedding night, this was a descent into the unknown. With a shaky breath, he cracked open the book. The pages fluttered like ghost wings, revealing archaic symbols and swirling manuscripts that seemed to dance before his eyes. Shadows flickered in the candlelight, twisting like fingers beckoning him closer. He couldn't look away. "What is this?" he whispered, filled with both wonder and terror. Sabrina leaned in, her breath warm against his ear. "The secrets of my family, the power we hold." Her voice was a mixture of pride and dread. "It's a legacy built on a bet, just like yours." Jake's heart sank. A legacy? What had he stumbled into? Suddenly, the weight of their marriage took on a darker hue. What kind of power? He dared not sound desperate, yet the curiosity gnawed at him. He felt as if he were standing on the edge of a cliff, teetering on the brink. She took a step back, allowing him a glimpse into her soul, a hint of vulnerability amidst the layers of confidence. "We are bound to the stories and magic of those who came before us. This is where our lives intertwine, your bet, my lineage." And just like that, clarity washed over him. He was not just some broke man marrying a rich woman, he was now a pawn in a game as old as time itself. The thought twisted his stomach into knots. "What does that mean for me?" "Only as much as you choose to believe, Jake," she said, her eyes sparkling with something other than warmth. "You can unlock doors you never knew existed or be trapped behind them forever." A shiver climbed up his spine. He remembered the flickering lights and the laughter that wasn't entirely hers. What had she gotten him into? The room felt smaller, suffocating, the walls closing in with every word exchanged. In that moment, he realized that whatever truth lay inside this book could shatter everything. Then, abruptly, the laughter from the book ceased. In its place, a whisper filled the air, crisp and cold. "You are not alone, Jake. We are watching." Jake froze, fear coursing through him as the candle sputtered and dimmed. Shadows stretched long across the walls, curling and crawling in a way that was almost alive. The tension in the air was palpable, like a tight rope ready to snap. He felt the ground shift beneath him, uncertainty gnawing at his heart. What is happening?" he stammered, backing away from the darkness that seemed to creep closer with each passing second. Sabrina's eyes flickered, doubt emerging as she cast a glance at the book. It was no longer just a secret, it was a gateway into a life of unimaginable power and chilling dangers. "What did we awaken?" she whispered as the walls seemed to pulse with energy. Just then, a deafening thud reverberated against the door, shaking the foundation of the suite. The sound echoed like a death knell, final and menacing. Jake's heart raced as he and Sabrina exchanged wide-eyed gazes, the reality hitting him like a wave crashing against a rocky shore. What were they truly dealing with? And who or what was waiting for them beyond that door? The door shook again, rattling the hinges as if something outside were trying to force its way in. Jake's breath quickened, each thud felt like a warning bell, echoing through his mind. Sabrina clutched the edge of the table, her knuckles white. "Jake, we need to," she trailed off, her gaze glued to the door. Then the whisper came again, low and ominous. "Let us in." His heart thundered, dread pooling in his stomach. "What is that? Who is out there?" "I don't know," she said, her voice trembling. "But it's connected to the book. We can't let it in." With a surge of adrenaline, he stepped back, clutching the book to his chest as if it were a shield. Questions spiraled in his head. There was no escaping the reality they had awakened something that should have remained buried. Panic threatened to overthrow common sense. Another thud, and this time the sound warped, a guttural growl rumbling through the air. It felt as if the sound were inside him, twisting his guts. The flickering candle flame sputtered, casting devilish shadows that darted across the walls like whispers in the dark. "Focus!" Sabrina yelled, snapping him from his daze. "We need to do something." "What's in that book? Can you read it?" Desperation clung to her words. Jake bit his lip, flipping through the pages. The bizarre symbols seemed to pulse under his fingers, shifting and rearranging like they had a life of their own. He had no idea what they meant, but he felt their power, a current running from the book into his veins. Maybe there's something in here that can help," he stammered, his eyes scanning the text. The letters seemed to writhe, tantalizingly close yet just out of reach of understanding. It said we'd be trapped or unlock doors. Sabrina grabbed his wrist, eyes wide. What if it's a trap? What if we open something we can't close? I don't know. He shouted, the fear erupting in anger. The room felt impossibly small, getting smaller by the second. The walls seemed to breathe, drawing closer, pressing against him like an invisible predator. With renewed resolve, he turned the pages faster now, searching for anything that made sense. Descriptions of realms, shadows, and power danced before him. His fingers paused at a drawing, a dark figure holding keys. The figure's eyes were hollow, reflecting a deep, endless void. His skin crawled. Suddenly, the growling turned into a series of raspy whispers, swirling around them like a frigid wind. Unlock, let us through. The voices were layered, overlapping, beseeching. They want something from us, Sabrina said, her breath hitching. Jake, we can't let them in. We can't. Then what do we do? He shot back, panic overloading his senses. He remembered something Sabrina had said earlier, that their lives were intertwined with the stories of others. What power did they possess? What power did he have that might protect them? Maybe I can. The door cracked open, splintering the moment. A narrow line of darkness spilled into the room, pulsating with chaotic energy. Jake's instincts screamed danger, but he felt a strange allure, like the book was calling him. Close it. Close it now. He reached out, ready to push the door back, but the voice roared again, shaking the very marrow in his bones. You cannot escape the past, Jake. Your choices bind you. The room throbbed with energy, shadows flaring around them, reaching for him. In that overwhelming moment, he knew. This was just the beginning. Before he could respond, the book erupted in flame, a hot, blinding light that engulfed everything. He felt Sabrina's hand slip from his grasp as the flames roared higher. She was lost to the shadows, her scream sliced through the chaos. As the world around him twisted into a maelstrom of darkness and light, Jake wondered not if they survived, but at what cost. And then it went silent. What had they truly unleashed? Who would return from the dark? The darkness wrapped around him, thick and suffocating. Jake struggled to breathe, the heat from the flames contrasting with the encroaching chill that seeped into his bones. He blinked hard, trying to shake off the overwhelming sense of confusion. Where was Sabrina? The silence stretched, a heavy weight pressing down on him, smothering him. Jake! A voice echoed, the familiar lilt laced with urgency. Was it real? He strained to listen, forcing his mind to break through the veil of chaos. Sabrina, he gasped, the name clawing its way from his throat. He pushed through the clinging shadows, eyes darting around for a sign of her, for anything that resembled their reality. Suddenly, the flames flickered with a life of their own, twisting into eerie forms that danced like specters around him. They formed shapes and faces that seemed to taunt him, whispers rising in a cacophony of sharp voices. You seek to deny us? They hissed, you've unleashed the doorways of fate. He staggered back, the book still clutched in his hands, its pages smoldering at the edges. With a flick of his wrist, he tried to snuff out the fire, but it flared back defiantly. The whispers grew louder, a dissonant choir that wrapped around his thoughts. Then, out of the shadows, something emerged, a figure cloaked in darkness, its features indistinguishable. But Jake could feel the presence, a force both menacing and magnetic. It was as if the being itself drew his fear to the surface. Come to me, the figure beckoned, voice slithering through the air like smoke. Your bond is strong, but fragile. What you unleash cannot be restrained, let her go. Jake shouted, fighting the urge to obey, the innate pull toward the unknown gripping him with icy fingers. The memory of Sabrina's scream echoed in his mind. No, he had to find her. Your choices brought you here, the figure intoned, the shadows swirling around it like a living shroud. Will you face the truth in this world of darkness? Or hide forever? As it spoke, images flashed before Jake, the empty streets of his town, haunted faces lost in despair, and the book, its dark powers bleeding into the world. And then he saw it, a flicker of light beyond a veil of shadows, illuminating Sabrina's silhouette. Summoning every ounce of courage, he sprinted forward as the darkness stretched to ensnare him. Sabrina. His voice sliced through the gloom, raw and desperate. She was there, amidst the chaos, standing on the other side of a barrier that shimmered with otherworldly energy. Her eyes were wide with fear, reflecting the light that fought to break through. "Jake!" she cried, extending a hand, her voice breaking through the horror surrounding them. "I can feel it. It's trying to pull us apart." Heart racing, he reached for her, their fingers barely touching when the figure moved closer, eyes glowing with forbidden knowledge. "Leave her be. You have no power here." It snarled, its form rippling in and out of view, but Jake wasn't listening. All that mattered was Sabrina. He pushed against the unseen force, a wave of determination crashing over him. The flames roared, their heat backing him, fueling his resolve. "Let her go." The words erupted from his lips in a primal fury. The entity paused, caught off guard by the force of Jake's conviction that in that instant, he felt the tether of their connection tighten, felt Sabrina's presence surge through him. The shadows hesitated, then writhed back as if an unseen tide rolled through. "Together!" they shouted, their voices uniting, merging with the strains of hope, but as the darkness receded, the eerie figure lunged, its grasp shifting at the precipice. "You think you can forsake your past?" it hissed, its shadowy form distorting. "Embrace it, be consumed," and in that moment, far too late, Jake realized, the very fabric of their fate was tied to that book. They were not just free of the darkness, they had become its most vulnerable targets. As the world around them shattered in a roar of light and sound, he felt the pull of an unseen force drag him back, pulling him away from the light, away from Sabrina. "What's happening?" he shouted, panic rising as he fought to break free. But the tendrils of darkness enveloped him, promising despair in twisted, seductive whispers, and then, another crack of thunder split through the chaos, ink-black skies swirling above them. Was there even a way back? The last thing he heard was Sabrina's voice, a beacon in the storm, calling him home, but would he reach her before the shadows made him their own? The darkness closed in, squeezing the air from Jake's lungs. With each desperate breath, he felt the shadows clawing at him, their icy fingers pulling him deeper into a void he truly feared. The last flicker of warm light glowing from Sabrina felt tantalizingly close, yet impossibly distant. "Jake!" Her voice surged again, breaking through the chaos like a lifeline. It felt warm and real, but the shadowy figure didn't falter. Instead, it unleashed a horrid laughter that chilled him to his very core. "You think you can save her?" it sneered, eyes gleaming brighter, every bit a siren enticing him to drown in despair. "You are entwined in chains of your own making. The darkness doesn't merely threaten to separate you. It seeks to possess you." Jake's heart thundered in his chest like a war drum. There was truth in those words, but he couldn't let it anchor him. He had come too far, endured too much to give in now. His thoughts raced, dodging memories of wrong choices and the pull of fear. Out in the distance, the veil shimmered where Sabrina stood, the light around her defiant, illuminating the growing shadows that twisted around him. Jake gritted his teeth, taking a step forward, and then another. "Just hold on," he yelled, voice breaking but filled with fervor. He could feel the warmth of her presence, a tangible tether that urged him closer, but the figure whispered dark promises, luring him with fabricated visions. "What do you think you can achieve, boy? Love is not enough, time is fading. Choices made in this realm echo through eternity. You will find nothing but loss in her." Sabrina's scream, now muffled and desperate, reverberated through him. He couldn't lose her, not now. Not ever. "No!" he shouted back, astonished at how fiercely determination surged through him. "You're wrong. I want to let you take her from me." With every word, the shadows flared, encircling him in their chilling embrace, but Jake pressed forward, feeling the light pushing back against the encroaching darkness. The flames that had danced around him now turned to warmth, igniting memories of laughter and love. Each moment they shared powered him, brightening the space between them. "Fight with me," he shouted, and he felt the air shift as Sabrina mirrored his determination. "I want to give up," she screamed, eyes locked onto his through the swirling chaos. The bond between them flickered like sparks, real and alive. It grew stronger with each passing second. The shadowy figure seemed agitated now, its laughter turning into a growl. You think love can conquer fate? You have no idea what you are unleashing. Maybe not, Jake replied, heart pounding as he forged his way through the suffocating darkness surrounding him. But we will face it together. With a surge of will, he felt warmth building within him. The flames were no longer a threat but a shield. He pushed against the entity, holding on to faith, love, and the memories of everything that mattered. A blinding flash erupted, throwing him back as both light and darkness clashed in a cataclysm of forces colliding. The figure staggered, howling in fury, rage spilling from its veins, manifesting into a gust of wind that knocked Jake off his feet. No! Its voice roared, and in that moment, the world cracked apart, a fissure of light and shadow bleeding into reality. The ground trembled beneath him as he fought to regain his footing. Was it working? Had he turned the tide? Then, out of the chaos, he felt it, the unmistakable sensation of Sabrina's hand clasping his, pulling him closer, grounding him in love that felt like a lifeline. But as the darkness shrank momentarily, Jake caught a glimpse of something horrifying, an endless void beyond. What lay waiting for them was a revelation that could tear them apart forever. Jake! Sabrina's voice brought him back, but shadows loomed larger now, more determined, and desperation clawed at their feet. We need to make it through together. Stay close. He nodded, heart racing as the echoes of uncertainty made their way through his mind again. Would their bond be enough to keep them safe as they crossed the breach? The figure loomed before them, defining the boundary of their fates. You think you've won this? Your battle has just begun. Fear washed over Jake. The darkness was not finished. It would fight until the end. With a final roar, the figure lunged, razor-sharp shadows reaching for them. Run, Jake. Don't look back. Sabrina's voice rang clear despite the chaos. Jake's heart ached at the thought of losing her, but the shadows were relentless. His body moved of its own accord, rushing toward the flickering light together, where hope lingered, but uncertainty lurked just out of sight. Would they escape, or would the darkness finally cradle them within its suffocating grasp? The shadows lunged at Jake, their claws inches from him, sharp and merciless. The darkness threatened to pull him in, wrapping like a shroud around cold limbs. But he couldn't focus on that. He needed to get to Sabrina. She was the beacon, shining with a fierce brightness, the only thing pulling him back from the ledge of despair. Together. He gasped between breaths, using every ounce of strength to push the suffocating void away. He felt Sabrina's grip tighten around his hand, her warmth of fire in the encroaching night. The moment hung suspended, a pendulum poised between hope and despair. Then, as they surged forward, the figure screeched, a sound that reverberated through the very fabric of reality. You can't run from what's inside you. Jake's heart raced, panic tightening in his chest. What did it mean? His past? The mistakes? The wrong choices? Keep moving. Sabrina urged, her voice a lifeline amid the chaos. Jake nodded, determination coursing through him. They had to escape this nightmare, find safety in the light. He pushed harder, straining against the weight of dark energy pressing in on them. The shadows were relentless now, thorny tendrils grasping, scraping across his skin, leaving trails of cold fire. Just a little further, through the chaos, he glimpsed the surreal light ahead. It pulsed rhythmically, a heartbeat in the void. Encouraged, he pulled Sabrina closer and sprinted toward it, only to feel the darkness surge forward, the writhing figure cloaked in despair still behind them, clawing at their heels. Your struggles mean nothing. I will take you both. The figure roared, its voice an echo that would haunt him forever. Jake dared a glance back, just as the shadows formed a wall of darkness, rising to eclipse the light ahead. We're running out of time. He shouted, dread creeping into his voice. Please. Sabrina cried with desperation, her face lit with fear. There has to be a way through. Searching his memory, Jake recalled the flicker of light each time he had chosen hope over despair, love over self-doubt. Suddenly, it came to him, they had to harness every ounce of love they held for each other, turning it into a weapon against the shadows. "Embrace it, Sabrina," he shouted. "Think of everything we are, everything we can be." With every breath, he drew in the memories, those moments of laughter, trust, and connection. It surged through him, a tidal wave of warmth battling against the chill creeping into his bones, and then he felt it a flicker as bright as the sun. He turned to Sabrina, and their eyes locked, a promise shimmering between them. The darkness roared, sensing its foes rallying. The figure's shadowy tendrils writhed and snapped, desperate to reclaim its hold. "No. You are nothing without the chains that bind you," it cried, but as Jake and Sabrina unleashed their shared light, the shadows began to fracture. The blinding radiance mirrored their unity, forming a protective sphere around them. With one final push, they surged forward into the blinding light, feeling the shadows retreat, screeching and writhing, yearning to remain a part of their lives. Jake clenched his teeth, ready to face whatever lay on the other side. They burst through the final barrier, gasping as they landed in a new realm. A lush landscape sprawled before them, bathed in golden sunlight, illuminating everything with warmth and hope, but as they steadied themselves, a low growl echoed around them, shifting the air. Jake looked around, tension creeping back in. This wasn't freedom, it was another trial. "Welcome," a low voice rasped, reverberating through the air. "You've passed the first challenge, but there are more to come. The real darkness is only just beginning." Jake's heart plummeted. What awaited them in this strange world? He glanced at Sabrina, eyes piercing with determination. They had fought this far. There had to be a way through, and deep within, the shadows still lurked, hungry for the light. What secrets would they uncover next? Would the bond they formed hold strong against the next wave of darkness? The ground trembled beneath their feet, the echo of that growl remaining thick in the air. Jake and Sabrina stood shoulder to shoulder, his heart racing, sweat slipping down his brow. A strange feeling crept in, one that felt akin to betrayal. How could they have escaped one darkness only to be ensnared by another? Sabrina's voice quivered, cutting through his thoughts. He turned to face her, taking in the determined look on her face, but he could see the edge of fear in her eyes. "Stay close," he said, gripping her hand tighter, the warmth instantly grounding him. Before them, trees stretched high, their branches like skeletal fingers clawing at the sky. Strange whispers rustled through the leaves, carrying secrets of the forest. "Did you hear that?" Sabrina asked, her eyes darting to the shadows dancing at the edges of the light. "It sounds like voices." "Yeah, but we can't stop," Jake said, but doubt gnawed at him. What if something was watching? "We have to find out more about this place before it gets to us." Together, they moved forward. The path twisted, dimming as they ventured deeper into the woods. The sunlight dimmed, swallowed by thick foliage above. Each step felt heavy, weighted with the gravity of uncertainty. The growl emerged again, closer now, vibrating through their chests. Sabrina flinched, glancing back toward the path they had come. "What do you think it is?" she whispered, her voice trembling more than before. "I don't know, but whatever it is, it's not friendly." Jake steadied his breath, his instinct urging him to protect Sabrina. They pressed against the encroaching darkness, but it was here, in this suffocating stillness, that the air thickened alive with unseen dangers. Then came the sound: soft footsteps, crunching leaves underfoot. Jake froze, instinct screaming. "Get behind me!" he shouted, lunging forward, ready to face whatever emerged from the shadows. A figure materialized, shrouded in darkness but unmistakably humanoid. "Fools," it said, a chuckle bubbling forth, void of humor. "You think love will save you here?" Jake's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" he demanded, but the figure only smiled, shadows crawling over its face. "You are not the first to seek refuge in love," it hissed. "But here, love can betray you. It must be tested." Jake felt a coldness rise, like ice in his veins. "Tested? What does that mean?" "Choose," the figure whispered, raising a hand that seemed to stretch with shadows. "One must fall so the other may prevail." "No," Sabrina interjected, stepping forward, eyes blazing with fire. You can't make us choose between each other. We'll never, but the figure laughed, its laughter swelling like wind among the trees. Then you will both suffer. Only through sacrifice can you find salvation. Jake's heart raced. The thought of losing Sabrina sent a tremor of primal fear through him. We won't play your twisted games, he shot back, clenching his fists, ready to fight. Ah, but you see, the voice coiled around them, sinister and taunting. You already have. Choose wisely, or the darkness will consume your light. The figure stepped back, melting into the darkness, leaving them in disarray. The air crackled with tension, a choice looming heavy before them. What do we do, Jake? Sabrina asked, her voice breaking, a lump forming in his throat. We have to stay together no matter what it takes, he promised, but doubt churned in his gut. The rare warmth of their love flickered, threatened by unseen forces once more. What sacrifice was waiting in the shadows? A rustle interrupted their thoughts, followed by a lingering silence. Jake, Sabrina said, fear coloring her voice. I need you to promise me something, but before she could finish, the ground shook violently, and a blinding light erupted from the underbrush, a force drawing them toward the heart of darkness. What new villain awaited them? How much were they willing to sacrifice for each other? They had fought so hard to find this light, but would they have to let it go? Light engulfed them, a swirling vortex of raw energy that seemed to breathe around them. Jake shielded his eyes and pulled Sabrina close. Hold on, he shouted, though the words barely reached her over the din. The pull grew stronger, tugging them deeper into the shimmering brightness. When the blinding force finally relented, they landed hard on the ground, gasping for breath. They were no longer in the forest. Instead, they found themselves in a clearing unlike anything they had ever seen. Tall, crystal-like structures jetted from the ground, glimmering as if forged from starlight. Shadows darted between them, unsettling figures flitting in and out of sight. The air buzzed with an energy that made Jake's skin crawl. What is this place? Sabrina whispered, her eyes wide. I don't know, but I don't like it, Jake replied, recalling the figure's ominous words. It doesn't feel right. We need to. Before he could finish, a high, haunting wail echoed through the clearing, vibrating through their bones. The shadows coalesced, and a mass of darkness took shape. It formed into a creature, its eyes glowing like embers, hunger etched into its twisted face. They're coming for you, it growled, voice slithering like smoke. You must choose. No. Sabrina stepped ahead with undeniable rage, but Jake felt the instinctive pull of fear anchoring his feet in place. We refuse to play your games. The creature leaned in, eyes fixated on Jake. Yet here you are, ensnared by love, testing the limits of your bond. Only one can survive. Choose now. Panic clawed at his chest, squeezing the breath from his lungs. No, Sabrina, we can find a way out of this, he pleaded, but she was already shaking her head. Jake, listen, she said, desperation lining her voice. I can't let you. There must be another way. He urged, gripping her arms, searching her eyes for some sign of hope. What if there isn't? Her expression hardened, tears brimming. If it really comes down to it, I want to let you sacrifice yourself. I promise. A moment of stillness settled over them. The world felt suspended as the creature watched, anticipation swirling in the air like a storm about to unleash. Then, without warning, the shadows lunged, scrambling toward them with frenzied energy. The vast web of darkness threatened to engulf them. Jake's heart raced as he reacted instinctively, shoving Sabrina behind him, but in doing so, he felt the weight of betrayal drag at him. No! She shouted, her voice raw. I can't lose you. He yelled back, fear coursing through him, drowning their resolve. The creature's laughter danced around them, slipping through the shadows. Love is but a fleeting moment, a candle in the storm. Choose or perish. Breathless, they stood divided by heart-wrenching thoughts, every heartbeat heralding dread. The cost of their bond pressed heavily between them as they faced the creature. Together? Sabrina pleaded, looking up at Jake, her eyes pleading. Together, he echoed, desperation hardening their determination. But the words were a fragile lifeline, fraying in the dark. Suddenly, the ground beneath them rumbled, a crack gaped wide, and a blinding light radiated upward, illuminating the silhouettes of harrowing figures that rushed forward, each bearing the face of a familiar memory, a friend, a lost loved one, a shadow of betrayal. Choose. The creature roared, a sinister escalation that echoed in the clearing. Jake felt the panic clawing at his insides as confusion swirled. Were they really forced to choose? Sabrina's breath hitched beside him. What if we don't choose at all? But before they could respond to the challenge, everything fell into chaos. What came next was a whirl of shadow and light, testing their bond in a way they never imagined possible. And just like that, the unseen forces preparing to drag them apart became clearer. Darker choices led to consequences. But what decisions lay ahead, hidden in the deepening shadows? As the figures rushed closer, the chilling desire for sacrifice sparked in their hearts, and Jake wondered just how deep their love needed to be tested. The price loomed larger than ever. Sabrina's voice broke through, her grip tightening. What is going to happen to us? The truth began to tremble on his lips, a truth that had the power to transform their fate forever. But before he could speak, the shadows swallowed their fears, leading them into an even darker abyss. What revelation awaited them on the other side? Would love prevail, or would the abyss claim them both? The chaos folded in around them as Jake felt the ground shift beneath his feet. Shadows swirled, pulling away from the light, illuminating the faces that echoed from his past. Each visage bore a weight of memories torn from his heart: laughter, love, loss, betrayal. The faces twisted, morphing into expressions of anguish, flickering in and out like old film reels, reminding him of choices made and paths taken. Sabrina clutched his arm, but her grip was weak, as if the energy of the clearing was siphoning her strength. Jake, think. We can't choose anyone. We're not supposed to. But the creature only laughed again, deeper this time, as if savoring their desperation. The price of love is steep, and yours is now due, it hissed, shadows dancing like flames. Together? Or will one of you finally show true sacrifice? The icy grip of dread settled in Jake's core. He couldn't bear to lose her, not like this, yet a darker thought bubbled to the surface. What if their love was as fragile as the figures surrounding them, merely ghosts that existed in the cracks between reality and the abyss? Suddenly, the shadow creatures lunged forward. Claws scraped against the ground, propelling themselves toward Jake and Sabrina with terrifying speed. In that heartbeat of terror, Jake knew he had to act. Sabrina, get ready to run. He shouted, and before she could respond, he pulled her away from the mass of darkness. They bolted towards the nearest crystal-like structure, the light reflecting in sharp angles that looked almost otherworldly. Behind them, the chilling wails of the creature echoed, but there was no time to think. Jake took long strides, mind racing, filled with a single thought: survival. Where do we go? Sabrina's voice was a whisper lost in the roar, her breath labored as she kept pace with him. Any place but here. He panted, glancing back just in time to witness the creature stretching its gaunt arms toward them. Fear propelled them faster, adrenaline drowning out the panic. As they raced deeper into the clearing, the shadows scattered around them, some darting away, some morphing into grotesque creatures with glowing eyes, watching their every move. What do they want? Sabrina gasped, glancing with wide, frightened eyes. They want to see us break. Jake replied tightly. If we choose, we lose. If we don't, maybe we still find a way. Or perhaps. Jake, don't say it. Sabrina interrupted, but he could see her resolve wavering, as fear washed over her. Just then, their surroundings shifted again. The light flickered, illuminating a group of figures emerging from the shadows. They seemed familiar, friends and family they once knew, faces lost to time. But their features were twisted, mouths opening in silent screams. No! Jake cried, halting in his tracks. This is a trick. Is it? The creature taunted, slithering from the shadows to loom before them. Your hearts are opulent with choices, yet you remain. Why? Because we're not fighting this. Sabrina shouted back, shocked determination emboldening her voice. "We want to play your game." With that declaration, a pulse of light enveloped them, flooding the clearing with a brilliance that pushed against the shadows. Yet, the moment was fleeting. The creature screeched, withdrawing just enough to show its smoldering rage. "We'll see how long you can keep it up," it hissed, its form shifting, swirling into a monstrous version of itself. The shadows intensified, pushing back against the light, threatening to overcome their last flicker of hope. "Jake, I'm scared." Sabrina's voice trembled, anxiety creeping back in. The darkness felt all-consuming. "You won't lose me," he promised, but doubt clawed at him. They had ventured this far together only to find themselves teetering on the brink of despair. In a heartbeat, the darkness moved again, shifting with a sudden grace that made the air thick with danger. The ground trembled as the edges of their light continued to shrink. Jake's mind raced. Everything depended on their next move, but with every choice echoed the gravity of sacrifice. Would they cling to their love, even when the abyss beckoned fiercely? Then a realization struck him, the glimmers of all their shared moments igniting a fire within his heart. "Sabrina," he yelled suddenly. "What if we fought together? What if we break the chains that bind us to this place?" And just like that, as the shadows sea boiled with fury, an idea sparked, glowing bright against the abyss. But would uniting their wills be enough to shatter the darkness? Or would the next moment push them further into chaos, where one desperate cry signifies an ending they could never foresee? The shadows writhed unnaturally, pulsing with each beat of Jake's heart. As he locked eyes with Sabrina, an unspoken understanding passed between them. This was their battle, their survival method, but they couldn't do it alone. They had to combine their strength. "Together, Sabrina!" he roared, letting the power of their love fill him. "We will go through this side by side." Sabrina nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. The light around them shimmered, swirling like a tempest as they merged their presence, actively pushing against the crushing blackness threatening to engulf them. The creature recoiled, howling in anger as the connection intensified, creating a protective sphere around them. "Do not be so naive," it shrieked, its body flexing with shrill resentment. "Love is but a flicker. I will show you the void. I will test your resolve." With that, it charged, shadows trailing, stretching to engulf them in a dark swath. But Jake and Sabrina, bound by their hearts, memories flooding their minds, stood firm. The light encased them like a shield, fueled by all they fought to protect. As it closed in, the shadows rattled, recoiling from the brilliance. They were gaining strength, their faith harmonizing, steering them toward truth. "Focus, Jake!" Sabrina shouted, her voice vibrant with fierce energy. "Remember all those moments we shared. The laughter, the dreams. The burning desire to face anything, as long as we had each other." Suddenly, those memories swirled around them, a banquet of love laid bare, sunsets spent on back porches, laughter echoing as they tried to cook together, soft confessions whispered under starlit nights. They weren't just fighting for freedom anymore, they were fighting for every single inch of their shared existence. Jake roared, channeling that fire into a concentrated beam that sliced through the dark clouds swirling around them. "You will not take what is ours. We are bound by more than fear or despair, we are bound by love." The words thundered with unexpected clarity. The creature shrieked, a sound that bitterly tasted of chaos, as the ground beneath them began to tremble more violently. "Fools!" it screamed, voice warped yet powerful, flooding them with despair. "You have awakened forces beyond comprehension." But Jake didn't falter. He felt the warmth of Sabrina's hand tightening around his, a tether pulling him back when shadows threatened to take over. "No matter what you throw at us, we're stronger." Light erupted, a blinding sphere of energy, igniting every single corner of that dark realm. The dark creature screeched as the shadows flared out, folding against the intensity of their combined will. In that moment of brilliance, Jake and Sabrina surged forward. Together. They yelled in unison. They dove into the pure light, and the shadows began to dissipate, snarling as their power faded. The darkness clutched at them, desperate clawing that felt like icy water chilling their skin, but warmth surged as they embraced tighter, strengthened through devotion. And then, in a spiraling explosion, the barriers shattered. Blinded by brilliance, Jake felt himself pulled upwards, weightless as streaks of color surrounded him. Was this freedom? He dared not grasp at it too tightly, scared that it was a dream that could slip right through his fingers. When the light finally receded, he blinked against the newfound brightness. They landed softly in a lush field, sunlit and vibrant. Flowers danced with the wind, rustling gently in a tableau of peace. Jake gazed at Sabrina, his heart swimming with relief. Did we? Yes, Jake. Her voice was calm and steady, a balm against his mind. We did. A tangible silence settled around them, the oppressive shadows receding to but a distant memory. They were safe, but a soft rumble interrupted their moment, not a growl, but a spark of laughter came from the glistening horizon. You believe you've ended this game? There is always the next chapter, a familiar voice echoed across the field, chilling but strangely comforting. Jake and Sabrina turned to witness the figure appear amidst the fading darkness, still cloaked, though with eyes gleaming like stars. With a heavy heart but steady resolve, Jake clenched Sabrina's hand tighter. Then we will face it together, he vowed softly. As twilight settled over the horizon like a tattered canvas, painted with hues of hope and lingering shadows, they took a step forward, ready to acknowledge that life would always be a series of choices. Together, they would face whatever waited, entwined in a pact that wouldn't be easily broken. Sabrina's hand squeezed his reassuringly, and with that glimmer of love, they embraced the unknown, ready for the tomorrows yet to unfold. That if you want to know where Jake and Sabrina's journey takes them next, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for all the epic stories coming soon. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with your friends so they can join in on the adventure. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about this ending. Let's keep this community thriving together.